Well, welcome to the Flying Dutchman podcasts. And on this episode, before I even get to talking, you're probably wondering, what's the ocean have to do with the airplanes and the podcast? And to tell you, this is the Pacific Ocean, and we're here because about 45 minutes that way, heading east, is the Pacific Coast Air Museum in Santa Rosa, California. And I'm excited, and I hope you are too, because they have a couple aircraft that I have to travel far to see. And one of them is the early version of the AV-8 Harrier. And it's in its Marine Corps camouflage in the markings of a resident of Santa Rosa that flew the Marine Corps Harrier. In addition, we're going to visit their gift shop so I can buy me some goodies. So I invite you to come along. Let's learn something, have a little music, and enjoy the view of the Pacific Ocean. Let's go. Celebrating 30 years, actually 35 years, they were founded in 1989. The Pacific Coast Air Museum is a unique collection of authentic, well-cared-for aircraft, and they're also a non-profit organization with a dedicated base of aviation experts who's given back to the Sonoma community. There are 3 acres of outdoor exhibits. There's a 911 first responder, there's real jets, there's historic aviation artifacts, some flight equipment, open cockpit weekends, and they have a hot dog Thursdays, April through October. They host Wheels and Wings, and they are, it's important to know their hours are, we're going to see that in just a moment here as we pull in. It's just an unassuming entrance. It's really nice. It's a very cool day. We've had some rain here. This was filmed earlier this year. There it is. We know we're at the right place. Pacific Coast Air Museum here in Santa Rosa. North of Santa Rosa, Highway 101 to be exact, is how you would get here. It's a beautiful location, and obviously not too far from the coast. A lot of good restaurants. And here's their hours. Closed Monday and Tuesday. It's free, active duty and retired. And of course our open cockpit Saturdays, those are announced. One of my favorites anytime I visit a museum is the gift shops. Sometimes I as much as I'd love to have a lot of these posters, this artwork, this is a gentleman that does this by pencil. Does enormously great work. It's toys for the kids, and just looking around, and sometimes I'll grab something for one of the grandkids, or just specifically myself comes first. And that A-26, we're going to see that aircraft outside. There's the bomb site for it, the Norden bomb site. And here's a very handmade aircraft carrier, very detailed, with hell divers, Avengers. Looks like we had a Bearcat, a Dauntless, a lot of different aircraft. Here's a flight simulator. It's closed today, otherwise I'd be in it. It's very interactive, and sometimes you gotta monitor the kids because they'll start accusing each other of taking too much time. And look at that, the navigation system from SR-71. And this museum's curator was he's no longer with them, Colonel Pinsky. He was an SR-71 driver, so he was instrumental in getting some SR-71 components, and we'll see those on display. There's a Huey door, a cowling to something, more models, and let's go outside. 20 millimeters. This is the F-8C, F-8 Charlie Crusader. What's unique about this aircraft is you would notice where the wing actually lifts up. So the aircraft coming onto a carrier, the wing will lift where it's actually the nose going down, so he could have a better sight picture of his landing area. This aircraft was the Navy Marines' first, I believe, supersonic aircraft. I like that sound. Interesting stories about this. This was called Last of the Gunfighters. These aircraft served in the Vietnam War. They had reconnaissance versions that they were around in the late 50s, all the way up until I think 1988 was when the last RF-8G Crusader was retired out. This is done up in the Marine Corps colors. This used to live in a park. Hopefully, I took a photograph of the information on the aircraft, and hopefully that migrated to where it could be read. I never know till I get to editing, and so much to learn there. But interesting story. If you could find the book Feet Wet by Commander Gilchrist. He flew from Hellcats to Tomcats, and he spent time with the Crusader. And an interesting story is when a carrier's coming home, and usually when they're a few days out from their home port, whether it's San Diego or Norfolk, wherever, they fly out. It's called a fly off. So all the operating aircraft, with some exceptions, the crew mans them. They've got all their goodies that they bought when they were in port for their wives, girlfriends, children, for themselves. And they fly off. Well, one of the pilots' name was Monty, and he had a higher rank. He manned his jet. They put it on the catapult. There's other jets behind them. They're going home. They've been away for over 6 months on this deployment, and so you know you want to go home. And the second thing you want to do is sleep. So what's called a cat stroke, he launches, and his aircraft flames out. And they're in the wind. The aircraft carrier is producing 35 knots. The aircraft's going to kick up in less than, however many seconds it is till you get to the bow, and they're airborne. Well, unfortunately for Monty, he's not airborne. In fact, he's going in the water. And when they see that happen on the bridge, the aircraft carrier, the airplane goes off. Hopefully, if you ever see when carriers take off from the bow, they'll do a left or a right because they want to get out of the way in case of a failure of the aircraft carrier. Well, in this case, Monty was only able to brake to the left a little bit, and the aircraft carrier is automatically going to go right, go left, to keep them screws away from the point of impact. And they did that successfully, but what happened was Monty didn't eject. He actually hit the water, still strapped into the cockpit of the Crusader. And he can see the aircraft carrier going by him within feet. And he's unstrapping. And then the aircraft kind of dipped down, and he's looking at now black abyss. And not only that, he can hear the screws of the aircraft carrier, and it's very frightening. In addition to, he looks down, and now there's seawater around his ankles, and he can't open the canopy. The water is now over the canopy, and he hears like a can being crushed. The aircraft is actually going underwater at an angle, and the water pressure is actually causing a popping sound somewhere in the length of this aircraft. So Monty straps himself back into the cockpit. He'd only done a couple of straps. Let me sit you down there. Sits down, assumes a position, and he literally, I can't remember how deep underwater he was, but he literally pulled the D-rings, the face curtain comes down, the charge goes off. Meanwhile, the carrier traveling at 35 knots, people are walking and kind of jogging as they see the bubble of the sinking Crusader. And a big bubble, and out of that big bubble comes Monty. and it shoots him out of the aircraft from underwater. This is an actual underwater ejection, and it can be done, it has been done. Well, he gets about as high as the flight deck of the aircraft carrier. His chute partially deploys. The crew are looking at him, and he's looking at them, and he's unstrapping, because the one thing you don't want to do is get tangled up in your shrouds and canopy of that parachute in the water, because you can almost always drown in that situation. Fortunately, some of his parachute got snagged on the catwalk of the carrier, and I cannot remember the name of the carrier, but so now he's hooked and he's swinging pendulum style, and the crew on deck are fantastic people, and they know how to react in situations, and they bum rush that piece of chute, and they pull him up, and they pull Monty up, and he's swinging like a clock, and they get him on the deck, and he is pissed. He is upset. He unhooks himself, is what he did, soaking wet, and he marched himself. Meanwhile, the air boss is saying, get that man in sick bay. You've got the medics there. He doesn't want to hear it. He goes up to the next Crusader, because right now flight operations is just suspended till they figure this out, and he bangs, tells that lower ranking ensign, get out, I'm taking your jet. And they had to have a few people go to Monte and say, the air boss demands that you go down to sick bay. You're not flying. They take him down, he gets his brandy, and he has to sit on that boat for the next 3 days. Not only did he lose that, he didn't lose it, but the Crusader's at the bottom of the Pacific, but he has some nice goodies that he bought in Hong Kong and Korea and all those nice ports, Liberty stops that they make. He was quite upset, but he survived. Feet Wet by Commander Admiral Gilchrist. It's a good book, a very good read. But I say that about every book I read, but they're good.
me